My name is Joyce Hill, and I basically am a collage artist. I do collage in many different forms, and this is the beginning of a series called On My Way Home that I'm working on in a series of at least 20 I'm going to do. The basis for this picture and going the way I did was, if you look at it closely, you will see the charcoal that is in here. And this is called liquid charcoal. I am a very big proponent of trying new materials. And so I discovered this liquid charcoal from talking to another artist in Buffalo, actually, who was doing landscapes with it. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I had never heard of it before. And I've worked with a lot of different materials. So I started with the charcoal and doing little pieces with the liquid charcoal, taking the paint and putting it on, and then throwing water on it, and then folding the paper and getting these different types of images when you folded it together with the grain. It took a little bit of practice to get the type of grainy look that I wanted. I had used graphite before, I've used charcoal before, but never the liquid charcoal. I've done photo transfers which are similar to this, but I just like the idea of the new materials and starting this new series with it. I don't usually cut out that many objects from magazines and papers, but this kind of screamed to me that that's what it needed. So I started out with the charcoal at the top and the images and cut them up. They don't always come out this way. I sometimes combine them or put them together with 2 or 3 different images. And then I cut the papers out to go along with it. There is also a piece of resin in here. I've been doing some work with pouring resin in circles and squares as an added thing to my collage also. And I try to put in like a magnifying glass in my work, that there's something underneath it that you have to get really up close and look at. I've done small ones, I've done big ones. So this one actually worked into putting little pieces of gold leaf underneath it, which I've used also. The images that I cut out, I saw this man in one of the magazines that just spoke to me of being very serious about going home. So I got into the idea of putting him in this series, and I'm doing a series of 10 with him, doing different things, different types of work and play and whatever. So I folded this paper that I found. I have boxes and boxes of papers that I use. I folded it up the way I thought it would work, and then I added the rest of the collage elements. I like doing things very graphically. I started out working as a graphic designer when I went to school, but I also took children's book illustration because I love children's books. And I wanted to be a children's book illustrator at first, but the teacher that was the head of the department died, which was kind of sad, and ended up going into graphic design because they were taking off the children's book illustration at that time because there was so much being done in the world with photography. For Show, for Life magazine, and some of the other, everything was photographs. And so they said, okay, you can go into this and this, whatever you want to do. So I ended up with graphic design because I knew I could get a job in it. And I worked for 5 years in 2 different, 5 or 6 years until I ended up having a family, and then I started doing this at home. This series will be a continuous series, as I said before, with different people doing different things within the images, depending on the graphite and how it comes out. This one kind of reminded me of like he was trying to fly with wings, and he was going home to see his wife and his child. And it just kind of spoke to me the way he was hunched over. I enjoy working with papers, but I do like using acrylic. And a lot of my larger works are a combination of collage and watercolor or acrylic. The colors, I like, they blend into the collage very well sometimes. This one just basically has papers and the resin in it and the graphite, but I am working on another series which has larger works that are full of a lot of acrylic, but still collage. I find it interesting to combine elements. I think that's the biggest hurdle for any kind of mixed media artist, is to make the images and the pieces of paper that you're putting together work as a whole, as a composition. And I feel in this one, it came out perfectly. I just love the balance. I love things that balance. I also like to do things that are awkward, but this one just kind of spoke to me as being a balanced type of image. There's also lettering in it. I like, again, I like lettering. I used to do a lot of hand lettering when I worked in graphic design at the advertising agency I worked for, which was a definite challenge, but I really have enjoyed making letters and using them, and sometimes I'll do that in my work. I'll make the letters up. I won't use type that's already done. This was also done during the pandemic, and I felt that it kind of symbolized how depressed everybody was at the time, how we felt, and that just the act of going home after being out would be like a fun thing to do. So I really appreciate that this came out like this, and I'm really very happy that I'm going to be doing more of them. Any questions?
The little man, did you copy him to use in other pieces, or did you have?
I don't. I only have the one image, but I'm looking at doing more. I did take a photograph of him, so I can I can reproduce him if I want. But he just sort of, you know, spoke to me as someone who was kind of bent over and really depressed a little bit, but on his way home, which would cheer him up, I think, once he got home. So, anyways, any other questions?
Is this the scale that you typically work in, or do you like scale up, scale down?
The other series that I'm working at right now, the ones that are in this series are all going to be this size. But I am working on another series, which I just finished. One of them's going to be in a show coming up, and it is 30 by 40. So I do work large also. Usually that will include acrylic paint or ink or something like that in it, besides the collage. But I do really, the basis of my work is usually collage. I don't always take them from magazines and things like that. I sometimes cut up things and put them together again. But this one has more images that are straight from a magazine. So, anyways.